Remix. 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 Remix.
What it do, niggas?
Morning. Good morning. Happy Mayday. Happy Mayday. Shut it
Putting it down
down.
to the last minute. Yeah.
Buenos dias.
General strike. No work, no school, no shopping. Shut it down.
That means we should shut down the stream right now because this is work.
Yeah, well, I've seen some people say we should do a data strike. So those social media, we aren't going to be able to do that because of the show. But to the degree that you can, obviously, withdraw. It could be part of the mental exercise, the consciousness building to recognize, we got to make some sacrifices sometimes.
Yeah.
Morning, yo. How you doing, Amber?
David said he waiting for that new Isaiah Rashad album. Why are so many people into Isaiah Rashad?
He didn't really do it for me, but I, enjoyed some of his music.
I'm not a huge fan. It's not so interesting how these Chattanooga niggas be taking over genres. Because Coco Jones is, from Chattanooga, and her music was great. I love Coco Jones. I wasn't the huge Isaiah Rashad fan. Like, I like some of his music, but not all of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about the same for me. I'll put a song on.
Yeah.
But how you doing, Geechee?
Living.
I love this shirt, truly.
We get it. You're African.
Or I found it at a thrift store and I was like, oh, this is a cool shirt.
I mean, it could be, both ends.
You know who like thrift stores?
Who that?
That nigga that be reading. He actually advocated thrift stores because I said thrift stores be having a lot of shit in them. Why are they selling cookware at the thrift store?
I ain't even gonna lie, Amber. I think I like this dude, and I don't like the nigga that be reading no more because I think he deserves some more respect on his name.
He deserves someone who go name him.
I'm just saying, the nigga read. I mean, he be flying out places, he be going places, he be inviting you places. The nigga do thrifting. I mean, I like the nigga. What's up, nigga? Who read?
He does like.
he's gotten as many shout outs on the show as a run sheet guy, Josh, who laces us with stories.
That was so funny. You mentioned somebody 2 times, and all of a sudden it's a big deal. I will clip that for him, get you, so he can see it.
Hey, I like that dude. I like you, bro. Take care of my sister, bro.
Yeah.
Don't get it confused, you guys. I have a roster. They just like this one.
Them other niggas, all y'all niggas, y'all gone. The rest of y'all niggas is out.
They're not. I was just talking to them yesterday.
Wait till I get a hold of them niggas. They out of here.
Oh my God. This is so funny. No, but like I didn't know they were selling so much stuff at the thrift store. I thought it was just clothes. And then I went to go try to find like an office chair because this is before I had my current job and they like pay for our office share or whatever. And I just wanted an office chair. And they was like, go to the thrift store. I was like, the thrift store. And then when I went in there, they had all kinds of cookware and stuff, like full sets.
Man, listen, I am 2 weeks, 3 weeks old, maybe, around this fast fashion. I didn't know what the fuck that was. I just asked somebody one day. I was like, oh. And then, yeah. So the fact that there's so many wild shit out there, but these late stage capitalism, and you can go to rich neighborhoods and go to the thrift store and get some of the shit.
That's what I did. I went to the rich neighborhood Goodwill. And then I also was wondering, like, do the people know when they be donating this to Goodwill, they finna sell it? Because I said, y'all selling stuff that they definitely gave you. I don't like that either.
Yeah. It's a good point. But I don't know. And I wonder what Lord think about this, because I'm in my and I'll tell y'all later. I ain't probably get y'all more details, but in my one of the departments that I probably be doing work with is like the labor, and Yeah, there's just a lot of conversations around. I feel like I don't know if we have a good conversation around labor, and then people in unions right now, and that the class struggle is out of unions now. Now unions is just like hobby that niggas be doing at this point, at some point. And I wonder if there's a argument around a response to the industry. Like it costs some type of resources to respond to the wastefulness of the American culture and industry. And so it's like it's almost, even though you gotta charge something, I don't know the like the details behind the reuse industry, but
What's going on at somebody's house?
I would be curious to read, Amber. Like I don't know if you, I think Kali Akuno, me and him was talking about something one day, and he mentioned, I think it's the Empire of Walmart or something like that, and it's like a real dive into it. I think it's Walmart or McDonald's or something. And I would really love to hear research on like the Goodwills, and I think I'm pretty sure it's wild shit. Goodwill, Salvation. Yeah. I know Salvation Army is crazy as fuck. Like,
I do not fuck with Salvation Army because they hella homophobic. But also, I mean, I'll go to some Goodwills. Like when I was in college, I did go to the Goodwills to buy like clothes. They would have like college discount days, but like not to buy all my clothes, but like just like buy like random things just for funsies. Like I didn't even need the stuff. Very much capitalistic. I just was going for the adventure, you know. Like we'd be like, let's go to this thrift store. It's 20 minutes away because it's in a nicer neighborhood. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't care, whatever.
And I can't tell where I was at. I don't know if I was in Maryland. Well, I might have been here, but and I mean, again, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm new to some of this shit, but I've been seeing like the thrift markets where there's like regular people in the thrifting industry who hold these markets, and it's like, so I'm like, I don't know, man. I think
they do.
I would love. There we go. In the indie thrift stores, but also like the independent entrepreneurial, maybe thrift person who, and a lot of those be like rich white people with a whole bunch of shit that they be thrifting and just selling, give it a good way, but.
I'll read his comment real quick. It says, indie thrift stores tend to be the best. I will say I did go to some thrift stores when I was in London, and one of them was the record shop I went to, and it was really nice. They had really good records in there for like a thrifting type of spot. And then the thrift stores are really nice too. I got like a cool bag that's like very common in London, like this big, because you know, everybody's always carrying like these big tote bags and stuff there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you good?
Yeah.
I can believe that though. They throw away everything.
This was one of my first, baby communist moments, and it happened when I was a child, really, mostly through Christianity, because I was like, our job is to provide for people, take care of everyone's needs, follow the, commandments, all those things. So I was always like, okay, if there's enough food for everyone on earth, right, then why are people hungry? It's a very simple question that I think starts most people on the path of communism. It's a problem of distribution, but it is also a problem of production under communism. Under capitalism, under commodity production. So this, when I got the term for it, already described what I knew, which we talk about with dialectics all the time. These ideologies, these isms, describe a lot of things people have already observed. So in Marxist theory, anarchy production is a characteristic feature of all commodity production based on private property. And it briefly explains that there's a chaotic and unplanned, unfortunately, anarchists get a, not the best term, but whatever, unplanned nature of capitalist market economies. Production is driven by private profit rather than social needs. This leads to, obviously, periodic crises, overproduction, and volatility because individual producers act independently without knowing total market demand. And so that's how I see all of these things, where we produce way too many shirts and there are still people without clothes. We have more housing units than unhoused people, and yet people are still unhoused, things like that. So that is what I'm hearing when I see people trying to solve the anarchy of production problem with thrift, with all sorts of, charity. I was part of a program that would take books and redistribute them throughout the community. And so while that, it got all the kudos in the world. Oh my God, this is amazing. The kids love it. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, similar to how McDonald's throws out a bunch of food. Now, you should be eating that food, but McDonald's throws out a bunch of food while people are starving. I'm like, Barnes and Noble has like a bunch of copies of these books that just sit in a warehouse or sit, and then so they donate it finally, and they're seen as, generous, and they get tax write-offs and all of that. But I'm like, the options were sit on a bunch of pallets and collect dust and mold, or actually give them out to kids because you weren't going to sell them anyway. So this is why, socialist, communist solutions are pretty much common sense. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking of when you describe it.
It's interesting that you say that, like, and I know sometimes it's like a stickler on words, but I feel like I struggle when there's the planned economy versus the unplanned economy. And I'm like, well, maybe the U.S. is mal-planned. Like, is there a better word? Because these niggas are planning. They're just not really like. So when they plan to produce 140% of food, 130% or 20% of food, more food than everybody need, and then some. And then the redistribution, the distribution is also planned too, as you said. Like, they plan to let it sit there instead of sell it. But then I think about, like, so with food banks, right? And I know sometimes the foods are still kind of like available to eat, and then sometimes, especially our food bank, the Black food banks, when they fill our pilots up, a lot of times it's like shit that spoiled 17 weeks ago or whatever. You know what I mean? But so I wonder if there's a difference between that. You immediately maybe thought about the book, the free bookstore in Baltimore. Like, you could just walk in there and you recycle books, but you can grab as many books as you want, like all the other free books in Live Story. There's there's stuff in Peru, not Peru, Puerto Rico, where like on the side of the street, like there's like a makeshift bookstore, library, and you could just grab books. So
we have those here too, like the little library things, and like if you get a library card, the books is you ain't gotta pay for them. But and I do feel like the barrier for a library card here is lower than like in big cities like New York, because New York, we want you to do all this extra ass shit. I said, hey now.
Yeah. They had to do debt forgiveness in New York for library cards, which was crazy. Again, capitalism.
They forgave the library card like late fee debt in like 2007 here, and like took the late fees away. We don't even have those anymore.
That's ridiculous to have them.
Because they have the libraries that has all of the technology and some of the archives.
We actually have libraries that have all of that too, Geechee.
Well, I'm just saying that I know some
we got libraries that got recording studios in them. We have the computer labs. There's computers on every single floor in our libraries, like the two large ones, and then the other regular libraries also have computer labs. And then we have like comic book sections. They have videos that you can, like DVDs you can get. They have these like in the summer they have these s'more kits, movie night kits you can reserve. So it's like a inflatable screen. They give you a projector, and then you have to like just use your own like computer, and then you can also get movies and stuff too. So I mean, I think it's actually a lot that's offered at the library. I think it just depends on how many you have. Like this year in our budget, one of the things the mayor proposed was a new library for Parkway Village, which is actually the library I used to go to all the time because it was the closest one to my house, and it's still the exact same library I went to as a child. So like they desperately need a new library. So I'm glad that that's like one of the things he proposed, because libraries are like, vital to communities, and they do offer more than just the books. But I only know that because I used to go to the library a lot.
Yeah. In Miami, well, specifically not Miami, Broward, the city of Hollywood by the beach. So I'll go there sometimes. There's actually a beautiful library on the beach, but it's extremely small, very underfunded. And what you'll see in there is it's a place where people can have refuge, do all the community programs Amber described, but also where they don't have to wander around in the hot sun in the middle of the day. And so you'll see a lot of unhoused people actually will use that place. Now, again, under capitalism, it's way too small and way too underfunded for a city as wealthy with as much land as Hollywood. So there'll be big, open, strip mall areas or office buildings that are just for lease sitting empty, and then a library that's like 4 times smaller, overcrowded, full of great people who care, but just not getting the resources it needs. When you, Geechee, just recently said that, shout out to the chat that we love to be in conversation with, but Old Dirty Kung Fu said, had this conversation last night. And so what Marx has been clear about is planned economy is basically planning according to need. So I would agree it's malplanned or it's planned based on profit, but not according to people's need. Otherwise, it would look like what we're describing. So that's, I think, how I think about it more. And then, yeah, it's not coordinated across industry. So China, whether socialist experiment, well, it was, but whether it's socialist now or it's social democracy, and I'm agnostic on that debate, whatever, it does force certain industries to be planned and to work according to the needs of the citizens. So that is why it is seen as a competitive model to the West and why it's seen as a threat, right? So no matter how you do it, you start planning according to people's needs, right? You start doing better than what the US can offer, and you're a threat.
And I appreciate the explanation in that way, because I feel like that's kind of what we're talking about when we talk about like local budgets, like the Moore budget, stuff like that. That's what we're kind of like getting at, is like a budget that's meeting people's needs. And we kind of got like half of that. I feel like in the budget presentation that just happened, it did respond to a lot of things people have asked for. They didn't give him any credit for doing that. I do think that was kind of mean, but I mean, I do appreciate that he did listen to what people were saying. Like, there was a lot of planned development of specific things people had asked for, multiple community centers, a pool in the Glenview neighborhood, which is a Black neighborhood. The Parkway Village Library, getting a new library was a huge thing. 20 new snowplow attachments that they are buying, not leasing, because of the response they were getting about the snow and how they don't think they had a good response to it the last 2 years. So they put money into buying snowplows. All of that without a tax increase. Even though I don't agree with no tax increase, but I feel like that was very responsive to what people have been asking for. Multiple upgrades to like the trails that people like to bike down or walk down, because we have a lot of like biking and walking trails. Multiple upgrades to those, not the ones in the white neighborhoods, but like the ones in the Black neighborhoods. So I thought it was very responsive, actually. I do think that it's unrealistic to have no tax increase. Like, you have to have some kind of new revenue coming in. But it was, to me, a very responsive budget to what people have been complaining about. And I really think that's all you can ask for. Like, if people are complaining about funding something and you put money towards that, like, oh, and $20 million to potholes and paving roads. We've never had a $20 million budget alignment for potholes and paving roads, which is the biggest thing people complain about. So I feel like, he's listening. Like, what else do y'all want? But a lot of people felt like it wasn't enough. And I feel like there was a few things I still wanted to have funded too. But I feel like that was the most responsive thing I've ever seen. Like, you could tell he's actually listening to what people are asking for. When we say we want like a Zoran in other places, that's what our mayor did. He listened to what we asked for and he put it in the budget.
Yep, as a public servant should. What I was going to ask y'all is about so I agree, and people are always going to want more because it is not socialism or communism.
That's congratulations for that, though.
Yeah, it's social democracy, which ends up being always never enough. And so what I was going to add, Amber, is like, of course, definitely like democratic participation of resources. Where I see it get lost is the labor element of this, right? Because if we had unionized laborers and cooperative workplaces, then all those projects would also be driven by the people themselves. And so what I end up seeing, and I was going to give this example, Miami's currently trying to construct an iconic thing. Does Memphis have like an iconic landmark or something like that y'all would know?
Yeah, we have a couple.
Right. In Miami, I mean, this like the Welcome to Miami sign you see in Bad Boys, they had to make that on set. It doesn't like exist. So they're trying to make an iconic landmark in Miami. And so to the point about labor, this is what they are saying it's going to look like. Now, it does not look like this currently. Okay, so they're saying they're going to do this. So if you've been to Miami, the joke is that the state bird is a construction crane because shit never gets finished. So this is what it's supposed to look like, right? But this is currently, if you actually drive downtown, and it's a fucking mess, what it actually looks like.
Oh my God.
And they're going to have to go back to square one and start over. So while this is happening, first of all,
Why do they have to start over?
Because they did some wrong calculations, and the engineers are pointing that out now. So that's been the
Oh my
problem.
God.
Right. So, and on top of that, with labor, somebody died constructing this recently. I think it's been multiple deaths, but there was
multiple.
Yes, yes, yes. And of course, when we talk about immigrant labor and how they're being exploited, there was a Latino man who fell off and died. And so when I think about the democracy, right, socialist democracy, there is the element where we can control where the resources go, right? But there's also the union element that says, hey, we're not going to build something if it's too dangerous. Or in the first place, why are we doing this? Right. So it's two elements of it. And I think without the element that can strike back and be like, listen, you, the city, the bourgeoisie are trying to build some dumbass landmark that nobody wants. We will stop that. And we are not going to do that. And instead, we're going to do what people have asked for: building public transportation, not building a damn arena on top of an arena on top of arena. Miami's got so many damn arenas, all of those things. So I think that's why people are
How many
always,
arenas do y'all have?
My God, we're building one from scratch for the World Cup, which is ridiculous. And so laborers do not have control over what they are actually building. So I think first one would be what you're saying, to develop the social programs, but it has to be community control, where people can say, no, we don't want this in our neighborhood, and actually have the power to do that. And then labor to be able to control what they actually build and where. And so that's why I always see the limitations to social democracy, and what we're actually asking for is socialism, so that people don't die building stuff that nobody wants.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify. I don't think he needs a congratulations. I just think it's okay to respond, to say that, like, okay, this was responsive to what we're asking for, but we still want these other things.
Yeah. Or like, kind of to Lorig's point, like, getting something is one thing. The method in which you get it is the other thing. And so if people disagree with the method, so for instance, let's say if all the snow plows come from John Deere or whoever, some major ass bullshit ass corporation, and in exchange for selling this thing, they get tax breaks for a certain particular time, and then the motherfucking workers don't get shit. Like, so the contract goes to the corporation and the workers don't do shit. Same thing with the paving of the roads. Like, are the people who do the roads, is that a private company? Is it a state thing? And
no, it's all public works departments, city employees.
So the money goes to that department. How's the money distributed? Like, is the person who is the head of the motherfucker thing, who says like, oh, you're supposed to do the cement plus this, they get $300 million, and then the worker, they get like $2 an hour.
That's a great point. Yeah.
No, all the money is going directly to actually doing more paving and more pothole repair, so more for employees. And there's a proposal in the budget for a 2% increase in payment for all city employees too, because of inflation. So there was also, I was interested to see how they got to that, because they talked about how there would not be a tax increase. And I was wondering how they were able to do a 2% salary increase for everyone and still no tax increase. But they did cut a lot of stuff. They did take $3.6 million from the police department budget. So they did remove a lot of like funding in different departments. Like, they were just like, very precision cutting here and there. So I can see how they got there, but I was intrigued when they were talking about the 2% increase, but also the $20 million for potholes and roads, which is just them being able to hire more people in public works and give them a pay increase. And then I know you mentioned something about the snowplow things. It's not actual snowplows, snowplow attachments. So only the snowplow attachment. We have the machines. Apparently, we have the machines. Like, we've had all this extra machinery, but we need an attachment that's specific for snowplows. So I was like, that's interesting. And they do have an RFP process or whatever. But I mean, I'm always intrigued to see what actually makes it out of the real budget, because that was just a proposal of the budget. So like, that's what the mayor proposed. But then we have to see what actually makes it out of the city council when they, take their red pen and stuff. But I think they'll leave most of the stuff in there about the potholes. I'm intrigued about the some of the improvement plan stuff. We have a capital improvement plan thing here. I don't know if y'all have that in y'all budgets, but like, capital improvements is like programs or projects that are over multiple years. And so a lot of this is coming out of capital improvement plan funding using the tax dollars they're getting from XAI. So they're getting like a whole bunch of tax dollars from XAI, and they're putting it in these capital improvement plans.
So my the students I have this summer, we're gonna be doing one of the media we're gonna engage is the Porters. I don't know if y'all saw that series yet. They only have one season, which is crazy, but and it's about Pullman porters in Canada, and Stephanie St. Clair is depicted in it as the mob boss, and then Marcus Garvey's nurses. And I would love for us to watch it, and it's on Tubi. Watch it and watch the episode. But
Tubi got everything,
right? I mean, hey, and I one of the episodes, the trains were hot as hell, and then like the white men was hot, and he told the black porters, "Hey, I know y'all on break, but get y'all nigga ass over there and put a big ass ice boulder inside the train so it can cool off the train." And they like, everybody on break. We only got 3 people. He like, I don't give a fuck. Get your ass up there. And he's like, well, why don't you go get some of the white workers to do it, because we can't do it with 3 men. And they was like, well, we're not playing. Get your ass up there. Again, I'm telling too much, but one of the dudes, every time he dropped off at the spot, he's also he also sell liquor and rum, right? Because and so he going every time he take a break, he go to the neighborhood and try to sell rum, and so now they're only 3 men short. So the person who's learning labor study, who's reading A. Philip Randolph, he learning all this shit. Like he said, we should organize. They have to put the ice in the thing with 3 men. And when they try to put the thing in the ice inside this joint, he slips and falls, and boom, and kills himself, and blood everywhere, and they mad and they fussing with each other. And the boss, white boss, was like, I'm sorry, your man dead, but here's the bill for his uniform. Make sure you send this to his family. And they like, what the fuck? And then anyway, when they made the progress, instead of pay them more and do the protocol with 6 workers and whatever, they send the money towards this little piece, this little weevil piece that helps you weave the thing down. And the money got spent on the piece, and they bought a bunch of these little pieces, attachments, as opposed to paying. Like, so it's like when I hear people say progress, like one can argue they made progress, but like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
yeah.
I don't think that's comparable to the thing I was talking about.
No. He was. I get, because I know how that was going to sound. Yeah. I wanted to uplift the name of the construction worker Jorge Eliud Galindo Thompson. So that's who passed away.
One thing about Hispanic folks, they don't have 4 names. They love taking their mama and their daddy last name.
They might have shortened it too. Yes.
Because who's panic?
I asked my Mexican friend that. I said, "Why y'all be taking everybody's name?" They was like, "Yeah, they take their mom and their dad's name."
Yeah, which is, I think, more progressive than some
cultural.
But
it's a cultural thing, yeah. But I mean, I think it can be more progressive too. The name just long.
It is.
I wouldn't want both of my names on there though. I would either want my mom's name, which is what I really prefer, but they made me get my dad's last name because he was paying child support. And if you pay child support, you have to have your child's last name. I literally have 2 social security cards because they changed my last name, and I have the old one too.
I'm down. They're gonna call you fraud. Watch. You gotta be careful. Sorry. One book, a good book that comes from history, freedom, train, black politics, and story interracial labor solidarity by Cedric De Leon. Thank you for the recommendation. Devin Dean raised the point, and then we could get into our checking question because Josh gets us in podcast mode in the first half.
Is that the reading?
That's the ringtone.
I actually changed like calling ringtone to that TikTok song that just like pick up the phone. I swear to God, Amber, if you don't pick up now, you ain't heard that?
Nah, you got to find it for us. Play it.
It's funny.
I think socialist democracy. Sorry,
my bad.
No, you good. I think socialist democracy is redundant. Socialism is work control. Therefore, yeah, of course. I might have been being redundant, but that's the point I was making. Thank you, Devin.
Yeah. Stephen asks, was this the same XAI that built all those methane gas generators? They're methane gas turbines, and they didn't build them. They're mobile, but yes, it's the same XAI. I mean, they're still there, so they still pay taxes. So, they put 25% towards a community benefits agreement that I wrote, actually. And I will just say it was also very cool to see programs that I created as part of the things that the mayor is funding, like the Opportunity Youth Workforce Program. They got a cute little logo for it now and everything. And that was up on the screen, and they're putting 1.5 million towards that. I did ask for 2 million. So 1.5 is actually close. But it was really cool to see things that I created that we ran as a pilot last year get funding again this year and actually be talked about. That was cool because I love seeing my ideas thrive. And 25% of the tax revenue, we asked for 100%, but 25% of the tax revenue goes towards this community benefits agreement that has community members on an advisory board that are assigning the money to different parts of the community right now. So like the South Memphis, Boxtown, and Whitehaven community are like getting community enhancements from 25% of those taxes, and then the other 75% goes to the city.
Yeah. You're ready for the check-in? We got a good one today, I think. So Josh asked us, how have you been able to maintain relationships with family or friends who don't share your politics? And then the follow-up was, are you okay with losing those relationships? It's an interesting question. Anyone want to start?
Amber.
Well, I gotta start. I don't really have relationships with people who don't have my politics, so that's my solution. We're not really close family members.
Your family are all radical like you?
No, they're not. We don't have close relationships. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like I'm cool with them, but like my mom, my grandma, all of them, like we have closer relationships because they're my closer relatives. But like some of my cousins and other folks, we're just not that close. I just don't have relationships with them at all. And I think that's fine. I think that people should pick, what they're willing to sacrifice. Like, are you willing to sacrifice your, common sense and will to argue to have these relationships with people? And I know I'll just be arguing with them, or I just won't be happy. I won't have a good experience. So I just don't do it. Like when I had my housewarming party, I didn't invite a lot of my family, most of them. And one of them called me and was like, I saw your housewarming thing. You didn't invite me. I said, no, I didn't. What about it? She had nothing to say. There's nothing to say. Like, no, I did not invite you. And I didn't invite you. And you know why? So let's move on. Yeah. I actually have more of a separation between people and like how they treated me, like as a youth, than like people in their politics though, actually.
Okay.
So I think dialectically, I think it's important sometimes because if people are organizers, and especially radical or whatever you want to call yourself, like I feel like most of the time that you spend with the people are going to be unpoliticized people that you have to build some type of relationship with. And I don't think the question was like close relationship. So I feel like, I mean, that would mean my next door neighbors who are not really political, and that would mean the way you move with targets that's in your community who I guess they will be targets, or people who's opposition, who influential people. Like you have to have some type of working relationship with them, the way you work with politicians who you disagree with. So I feel like with family, it really just depends. Like like my mom is. So for instance, I remember one time when I was living in Costa Rica, my family came and visit me.
Oh.
And my mom, her partner, her husband, and my sister, her husband, and all they damn churn. And the children are like very anti-African speaking sometimes, like, and what is this and this and that, and like anyway, so we have conversations, and I've learned to not have conversations about certain things. And when they ask me, then I'll probably talk or whatever. But I remember saying something, and you could tell it was like reducing what I was saying. And then my brother-in-law, who was an ex-military, he's like, nah, actually what he's saying is right. Like when we was over there in Afghanistan, we wasn't doing shit. All we was doing shooting bullets in the water. We tell the locals to move out there and we shoot bullets and we waste all the bullets in the water and whatever. And I was like, and then it was valid. It was valid then because he said it, because he in the military, and nigga, like, so there's I don't know how not to have a politicized conversation, especially in the world where they be like, well, Trump doing everything, and you're gonna have to be like, nigga, you knew this was happening when Obama was there. Like so I don't know. I feel like if we're serious about changing our material conditions, like we just can't be engaged with niggas how we do online. I know that much. I mean, at some point you got to have some type of real ass conversation with, again, like you in PE all week, and in 2 minutes you about to be outside, and nobody know what the fuck you was talking about in PE. Like you don't have to talk to regular people. So I mean, if you talk to regular people in the community, I think you can do that with your family who know your ass, who know you on some bullshit most of the time, and all that other stuff. So
I know you're on the bullshit.
Yeah.
I think it's if you're willing to do that. I understand that some people are not going to have the same political beliefs as me, and I have tried to have conversations with them about it. I either don't talk to them about it at all, or I don't talk to them. I think that that's just my choice. I don't have the capacity to do it. And I feel like some of them have changed like over time and we become cool again, but some of them haven't. And I just can't, what they be saying about niggas in the rapture, people getting left behind, the same thing that Harry was saying, niggas getting left, like that's gonna happen. And people, I'm just okay with it. But also somebody in the chat, I think it was Devin, maybe said that like your family is not who you're related to, but who you can relate to. I think it's a mixture because y'all gonna say something when I say this, but that nigga who read has a conservative friend. Like they like went conservative. They were in the military together, and we talk about this all the time because he be telling him stop hitting him up to only talk about politics because he used to be like MAGA, and now he's trying to convince people that he was never like that. He's trying to convince folks that he never had those beliefs, but then he still has like some kind of racist and like white supremacist beliefs on some stuff, and he'll randomly hit him up about it, and he'll be like, "Stop sending me shit," and like just have a regular conversation with me. And I told him, "You gonna have to cut that off. Like he's not gonna ever stop doing that. He'll stop for like 2 days, and then he'll go back. They never have regular conversations anymore though, because I was like, that's because he's rage baiting you. Like I feel like you don't see what he's doing. He's rage baiting you." And he was like, "I see it now. Now I figured it out, but it was annoying because I guess when you're in the military with somebody and y'all like grew up together and you have this like strong bond and it's like hard for them to just cut people off because he doesn't have like a lot of family members, the conservative guy." And now that I've seen what he looked like a black conservative. So that's even funnier. But the fact that he's trying to that he was never MAGA, it's even funnier because he looks like a black conservative now. And he sent him a video of them at church, and him and his kid are the only black people in the entire church. And they made him and his kid the cover photo for the church video for Easter. That's their only black people.
Oh wow!
I was like, bro, they're playing you. They're playing the conservative nigga, and he playing you. So what? And I told him that he was gonna have to drop that shit. He was like, I didn't see it at first, but I see it now. I was like, yeah, you're gonna have to.
Because he was like this. This is black conservative. The Key and Field skit. They all come in.
He had like a beard around here too, and he got a cowboy hat on.
That's I see. I mean, like this was a funny.
When they had that beard around here and that cowboy hat, you already know.
Yeah.
But it'd be like people like that, I could not maintain relationships with. Like I know myself. Like he has more patience than me. He's willing to do it. I'm not willing to do it. And my family members who are weird like that, like my little cousin Jada, she's in college right now. And she always hits me up to ask me questions because she has like very radical beliefs too, but she doesn't have a lot of people she could talk to about it. So she's always hitting me up, asking me questions because her brother doesn't really feel the same way. And then our other family members don't really feel the same way either. Like my mom and my nana are not radical at all, but they do have more like black centered beliefs around things. And I think their beliefs have changed over time. But I think my nana is way more politicized than my mama, for sure. Like my nana, she be with the shit. And I say, that's why I like you. That's why I like you. But my little cousin always just hitting me up for that reason because she doesn't really know where to find information about something, or she'll ask me a question about something and like how she can find more information about it. And I appreciate that she feels like she can come to me and ask me because I'm always respond to her. It might take me a second. I get distracted, but I do eventually respond and she appreciates it. So there's that. And right now she's going through this whole phase of she has natural hair. She's trying to wear her natural hair and she doesn't know how to do it, but she wants to still make sure she's wearing her natural hair because it's important to her. And so I've been helping her figure out like what stuff to use on it or what to wear on it because she's like, I really want to, like, this is a key thing for me, like, and like, you know, how I look. I want to make sure that I am wearing my natural hair. Like I want to have an afro, but I'm not sure how to get it to this point. But although her hair is an afro, she's just not sure if it looks right to her, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stuff like that that's like, okay, yeah, I understand. But she can't ask my mom that because my mama getting perms in her 50s. And she can't ask our other family members that because they definitely don't have afros. And they don't get why it's important to her because they'll just be like, just get a fresh press and move on. Like they don't get why it matters to her.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, or they repress it. Yeah, definitely. I see
Mm-hmm.
some comments. It's also about ourselves. The amount of therapy and healing that I had to do to understand my triggers is just as helpful. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an individual thing. I also know there's some luxury, right, to being able to remove yourself from family. Some people are forced to stay with them for housing reasons and financial reasons and criminal records and all of these things, right? So definitely agree that. I also agree that it's family's a chosen thing. We have chosen kinship. Um,
It's non-luxury ways too, right?
yeah, definitely.
People who like houseless who actually had to get away.
Right, of course, yes, right, essentially. Yeah, the people who have to make that decision, for survival. Family is a sociological phenomenon, not bioscience. It's practice built upon relationships. That's actually what I admire most about our people. Of course, it was inflicted on us through trauma, through chattel slavery, but this idea that anybody can be your family, that we have play aunties and play cousins and all of these people that we choose to build with. And so, yeah, I struggle as well as everyone does with these sorts of things. There's family that I maintain a cordial relationship with from a distance, but I still consider them family. I still feel a certain obligation to them, but that's just my, personal politic. I do appreciate the framework Black Men Build has given me. I also would say briefly to Amber's point that part of it was transforming myself and showing up, right, to actually show in the world what it is I want to be, to serve as that example, but also be in deep community, right? Because one thing about my parents is they know the neighborhood well, and part of them moving me into certain areas means that I didn't get the luxury to learn those communities in the same way, but I'm a grown ass man now. So it's been my choice for the past 10, 15 years to do that. So with my mama, it would always be like, yeah, you talking, yeah, it's that theory, blah, 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 but you're going to change when it actually gets into practice. And to my credit, I've been very proud. I have not. And so she's just had to hold that. I'm like, no, I am going to be this radical, whether I'm 6, whether I'm 16, whether I'm 26. And she also wants to see, because she did work service. So now she's like, oh, they got a bookstore in the hood. And she brags about it. She says, oh, yeah, well, I need to go to Josh if I need this or that, or if I want a resource, if I need to know what's going on in my neighborhood, you become that resource. So to Amber's point, I'm especially adamant about that with the youth in my family, with the elders, with people who are set in their ways. I got to give my own version of love from a distance if they cannot change. But I definitely do not accept that trauma being passed down to youth. I don't accept when we lie about things that have happened in our past, small things even. When my little cousin wanted to get a tattoo, and the family is all telling her, oh, we don't do that. You can't do that. You're too young, blah, 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 blah. Nobody in our family gets the tattoos and that. I'm like, you lying as fuck. What? When her uncle got a tattoo at 14, like, what are we talking about here? Like little shit like that obviously extends broader when we talk about queerness in the family, when you talk about abuse in the family. And so I have very, very, very low tolerance for bad ideas, traumas being passed on to youth in our family, the next generation. But to Amber's point, I like to be a resource that they can reach out to and be like, look, cuz I need help on ABCD. And then they'll trust you, to say more complex things. I'm thinking about having sex. I might have got to go pregnant. What do I do? Right. And that's what I'm interested in. What I will say, as I was saying earlier with Black Men Build, is I accept that my family will not necessarily be in revolutionary practice. And some of my friends as well. That's also another thing with friends. Yeah, because I do cut off some of those relationships. But I also accept they won't have the ideology. They won't have the, like you're saying, the political education to get to those stages, and they won't invest in doing that for various reasons. But I do have a value system. And so at the bare minimum, like with Black Men Build, we have the values, and that's the first point of contact everyone has with the organization. So we are critical thinkers. We are curious about this moment. We're coming together, taking an active, responsible role. We're transforming to meet the moment. And we're bonded with Black women and all Black people of all gender identities and sexualities in the fight for true freedom. So I feel like those values, to some degree, are present in all of the family and friends that I maintain a relationship with. Are they going to move, past liberalism and step into action and transform themselves to actually get here? That's where we get into ideology and the politics of what you believe in. So I don't think they're all there. I know for a fact they aren't all there. But these values, I can at least they're a baseline. And then I can challenge people on their own terms. Because if we do not have the same values, then I have no way, as I said last week about the men, to hold you accountable. Because then it's like, well, you believe that you're bonded with all Black women. That ain't my shit. So I'm like, all right, well, then fuck it. We got nothing in common. Cool. And so I'll cut that off.
That shit.
And they be on that shit. But at least then, and then it becomes, again, liberalism. You could challenge people on not being someone with integrity, which my dad is always like, say what you mean what you say. Like, that is my dad's politic. Whether or not he's acted on it in a way, he's acted on it some very reactionary ways throughout his life in some ways. But at his core, if I ask my dad, hey, I need something, I need you to show up here, or can you help me with this? That brother's going to be there, like disciplined, like military. So I already know that is where I'm coming from. So at least we have that shared value. But I think a lot of people are friends with people who don't have shared values, to your point about the nigga who reads and his conservative friend. And those values are misaligned and you're still engaging. Like, that's just never going to work.
So I wonder if you think about the question and the framing, and then the thing that's going to outlive possibly all of us. This thing is going to be floating online for some time, and it's live and people can see it. And supposedly there are organizers, there's politicized people, there's people who say they have revolutionary politics, there's journalists, researchers. And somebody is asking us that question around like interacting with friends and whatever. And then, I mean, I guess we can kind of talk about like, oh, some people we work with, some people we throw away, some people we like, when throw away, I mean, like we sever relationships. But last weekend, week before, we were talking about like how, men have to check these people who are going whatever. And it's kind of like, if the politic is throwing people away, and you would have a critique for the man who be like, that nigga be on some bullshit and I don't ever try to challenge him or intervene or whatever. But you be like, well, I threw him away just like you throw so-and-so away. Like, so I don't talk with him. And he's like, yeah, but then it goes back to the Black Men Bill politic that operationally one would ask, transform to meet the moment. They'd be like, transform into what? Like, what are you transforming into? And what does it look like to meet the moment? Does that mean you're going to become confrontational now? And that mean you're going to check everything? And in terms of cutting people off from your friend zone, like nigga ain't coming over your house. But if he out there saying some bullshit, you still gonna have to address the bullshit that he's saying, because you a propagandist, you a journalist, you somebody who's a policy organizer. And then even when you think about family, like people have histories, right? And all of us has been in organizations and left organizations and been around it, whatever. And like your mom or cousin or somebody probably don't fuck with. Like I've been watching. I had to rewatch "I Am Not Your Negro," and James Baldwin was like, I ain't became a Black Panther because I didn't think all white people was devils. We're like, nigga, Black Panthers didn't think that. Like, how do you just come to that conclusion? But I'm saying maybe your family member had an interaction with a revolutionary who assaulted them and did some other shit. And you're like, you know what? Fuck that niggas in the politics. I done seen them niggas on that. Them niggas don't do what they say they do. Like, so maybe they have a legit trauma of why they don't fuck with them. And you come with your new ass, you 21, and you be like, yeah, I'm a revolutionary. Like, nigga, I done seen that shit 20 years before you, and I know the shit don't lead to nothing. And so I don't know. I'm just curious how y'all kind of see yourself as a journalist, policy organizer in general, revolutionary, whatever, and then answer that question. Like, yeah, I'm just curious.
Such a good question, Geechee. We can always count on you to ask the very in-depth, thoughtful questions.
Thank you.
You want to go, Amber, or you want to Me to start. I was gonna say, well, shout out Uncle Jimmy. I love Uncle James. He's had his misses. Nikki Giovanni reads him fairly well as well. But then he also has his friends. So I actually agree with that, Geechee. I mean, there's trauma in my family. So my uncle was a political prisoner, revolutionary. Didn't get to meet him until I was an adult. And so, yeah, like there's also the fear if you see somebody is like going down that path, but that's dialectics. That's just going to reemerge anyway. That's just what's going to happen. But if you don't have an understanding of dialectics, then you're like, oh, I can stop it. I can make sure it doesn't happen. It's going to happen, right? Because the same conditions exist. So it's going to be, my uncle's going to be like, damn, not even by blood. It's not some bloodline, magical, mystical shit. It's like, nah, this is my kin. And the same struggle is going to get passed along in another generation. So, I think what I appreciate about James Baldwin is he did have that fear. And as someone said, it was an NOI talking point. So James Baldwin is someone who investigated, somebody who actually got to go see Elijah Muhammad and did see these limitations. And so if he's saying, oh, I've seen this before, I mean, he might be right. So this is what I was saying about actually practicing and actually becoming the person that I'm claiming to be in theory within my community. So I would say you have to present an alternative model to people who have seen that trauma or seen that thing fail. You also have to make them self-critique and be like, okay, well, why did it fail? And do your own investigation, Uncle Jimmy, which I've seen him do. He's gone on the streets. He's talked to brothers. He's seen that. And you'd be like, yes, there are different tendencies within the Panthers, right? So no, it's not they all hate white people. And that's a really lazy way to not get involved. So that would be kind of where I start with that. You do have to transform. You do have to be a model for what other people are looking toward. And you have to investigate that trauma personally, but it's your responsibility to keep showing up in the community in that way. So I'll just start it off there and I'll kick it to Amber. Great question as always, Geech.
Amber, let me add some sauce into your answer. So I fucked around and listened to Jarrett's Billy Carson. I ain't never listened to Billy Carson in my whole fucking life, bro. I just heard of him, but I'm like, who the fuck is this dude? And so Billy Carson comes on Killer Mike, right? And y'all know we having our little beef with Killer Mike and then Charlemagne and T.I. and all these other people. And again, we talk all the time that I know this nigga personally. And so like, we gonna intersect. Like I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna see his daddy and I'm gonna see Bristol, who Bristol gonna tell me to come to the goddamn the Cowboys, and Cowboys is Charlemagne's daddy thing, and we're gonna sit on the tree and we're gonna drink and smoke. We're gonna talk about this shit. So it's no way not to talk about this shit with these niggas, and even though this nigga is famous. So Billy Carson, Jarrett goes to the point where Billy Carson is debating a fucking genius, a Bible genius white boy, right? And the white boy is fucking him up. Billy Carson said, I did the cyanide Bible. He said you said a Sinaiticus, nigga? The Sinaiticus, and he pulled a Sinaiticus.
He pulled off the shelf.
and Billy was like, yeah, I'm in the Sinaiticus. And then he was like, well, on the Sinaiticus, it says multiple times that Jesus was alive and blah, 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 blah. And he was like, oh, wow, I messed up. I didn't mean the Sinaiticus. I mean the Joseph Bible. He said, oh, the Joseph Bible, by the way, let's talk about that. I got that too. And he said the Joseph Bible and he kept fucking him up every time he said something. And Billy Carson got kicked out of the white boy space so bad that he's trying to sue everybody. He tried to sue the host. He tried to sue the white boy. The white boy said, Billy, don't sue us because nobody in your black sphere is going to know about this. You just got ethered in the white space. It's not worth that you sue this because you sue us, you're going to lose, and it's going to translate into the black space. Billy said, I don't give a fuck. And Billy's still trying to sue everybody. So Billy got ethered. And now he take his ass over here to Killer Mike and talk about spaceships with Killer Mike. And now Killer Mike is. So I'm saying all that to say, like, sometimes, and Amber, you know this because you know some really well-known people too, like you and Consciously Cool. Like, you know, and you know some people who know a lot of people and influence a lot of people, and they be saying some wild shit, and you got a responsibility to be like, nigga. So go ahead, my bad.
What?
Give me a real.
I will land the plane. I think it's how do you then have to challenge prominent people when
I'm so confused. You said how do I what?
Challenge prominent people. So prominent people who are perhaps not living and according to your politics or your values, but who are spreading information in our communities.
You got a relationship with.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't feel like I have relationships with people who don't have the same politics as me, though. So I don't know. I'm kind of confused.
So when we say relationship, we're not saying close. So his question didn't say close relationship. Relationship can be like you relate to him in some type of way, and you maintain it because.
But I feel like you have to have a close relationship with someone to have a way to contact them. Like you follow me on Instagram does not mean I have your phone number or you even see my message if I DM you or like that's not the same thing. And just because I follow you doesn't mean they follow me. Like I have to actually be friends with them, have their phone number. Like I have Booker Square's phone number. Like she actually was texting me a second ago. Like I talked to her. And if something is happening where she's wrong about something, then I will say something. And I have Conscious's phone number and I've definitely told him when he said something wrong and I've definitely sent him information when he asked me for it because he'll always ask me for the information. He's made sure like when he reported on XAI, he had said something wrong. He went back and corrected it in another video. So I do think that the people I'm friends with or have relationships with are responsive to like feedback that I have. But I also think sometimes we shouldn't be like, not just me, but like people in general shouldn't be assuming that I know or saw something someone says, and also should be willing to just say, hey, did you see that this person said this? I also think we have that like assumption that if someone that I know, like that's popular, says something in a video, there's no way Amber didn't see this. And I think that's unrealistic because most of the time I didn't see it at all. I don't even pay attention to like other than TikTok and scrolling on there a little bit. I don't scroll on the other apps. So I don't see most of the things people are talking about. But I think as part of that responsiveness, having someone reach out and say, hey, did you see this person said this? Like you might want to have a conversation with them. Like Geechee has reached out to me about something before. Like you sent me something before and was like, do you know this person? Like, I think that's how community works. Like that's how you're communal and responsive to people. And that also calls on me to not be like offended and be like, oh yeah, that's not a good look or that was wrong and reach out to the person, which I've done like for other things that people reach out to me to. But I also think it's like some stuff, I think people assume that people that you're cool with have the same exact beliefs as you, and we don't. And assume that like, oh, Matt got something to say. He came in here. And assume that like we owe people some kind of like niceness or kindness that they aren't giving. And I think that's what upsets people sometimes, like when people come off very like harsh and stuff. And I was like, but you was just rude as hell to them. Like, what do you think? Like right now we're in the middle of elections and one of the candidates, JB Smiley Jr., who's running for county mayor, that's who I'm voting for, by the way. If y'all in Memphis, I'm voting for JB. But he's a city council member currently. And somebody at the polls, this lady who was running somebody else's campaign said, you're a thug. And he was like, why are you calling me that? And she was like, because you are. And he said, you're weird. And she didn't tell people that he didn't threaten him, that he didn't threaten her because she said he was weird. And then one of the candidates, Mikhail Lowry, his wife, Chanisa Lowry, because I'm gonna name a name, then walked up to JB while they at the poll talking about, well, at least I can call my mama. He said, I can call my mama too. Like, she right over there, she at the poll. She said, oh, my bad. At least I can call my daddy because she knew that his dad just died a few months ago. And then he said, you are Dusty. And then she said that she felt threatened for her life. So she went and got armed security the next day to come to the poll locations. And everybody's telling us that we need to get on JB for his behavior. I said, get on him for what? If somebody said something rude to me, I don't owe them kindness back. Honestly, he did better than me. I would have called her a dusty ass bitch. But he said, you a Dusty, and kept it moving.
And as a man, that was very smart that he did not do that.
Yeah, but now they got this nigga. Now they got this nigga wearing a body cam because people have reported him to the Democratic Party, who had to then do investigations on his behavior to try to debonify him. So now this nigga got to wear a fucking body camera at the polls, which is insane that he has to do that. But actually, I understand why, because they are filing reports and complaints on him left and right. Mm-hmm. And it's all because the election is very, very close. But I just said I had to say, I don't think that you owe people kindness and respect when they don't give it to you. I think you can respond to them. But sometimes when people go off on these like influencers and other folks about an opinion they had, they also expect them to come back and just be so nice to them. Like, what do you think is the response gonna be? Like, I might come back and respect it, like not respect it. I might come back and correct it, but I might not respect you because of how you came at me. Because sometimes we also assume people know information they don't know. And I would say that means they shouldn't say anything at all because I don't say something when I'm unsure. But I also think we should give people more grace than we've been giving, and people don't do that, and then they get upset that someone is rude to them, and I'd be like, well, what did you expect? I don't know.
Sadiq is true. Sadiq says what Cash Patel's
Sadiq
wrong.
is
I
funny.
I mean,
Okay. Wait. I'm sorry, real quick, Keisha. I did want to add. I agree. My other point that I've been trying to think raise as a theme throughout this conversation is for organizers heightening the contradictions. That's just a part of the process. So for me, I also need something to organize these people into. That becomes the way to challenge them, right? Because if it's just the battle of ideas, as important as they are, right, there's nothing that this person has to act on, which gives them the opportunity to either rise to the occasion or to stay stagnant or fail, right? With Cuddly Mike, I feel like that's too nice. I'm gonna start calling him Killer Coon. But with Killer Coon, right, he was allowed to join an organization or offered that. He was reached out to by people in the community. He knew the Stop Cop City campaign was going on. And so all of these things are opportunities for this brother to actually get on the right side of the barricade where he's actively choosing not to. So when I raise my critiques, it's not just ideas. It's practice. What could you have actually done differently? And how could you have joined with organizations that uphold the values, the things you claim you care about, right? And so that's where I get at with responding to some of these influencers, policy folk who might just be misled. And now there's a lot of inertia when you're already on a certain path, and we know that we're just one force acting on them, and there's so many others. But I do think like showing them that option and giving them the opportunity to meet the moment, as you mentioned earlier, is very important. And I think to that extent, we actually, as the left, have not built enough institutions, organizations, campaigns that these people can immediately plug into from their positionality. I'm not saying you could always just join the campaign to free Mumia, right? But that takes transforming the person's consciousness, building relationships, as Amber is saying, so that a FD signifier can go on with Jared and do an interview about Mumia and then be pushed by his platform, take this off the side channel and put this on the main channel, right? Now you have an opportunity to actually do something. Does that mean you're suddenly going to, magically transform? We can't call that, but it does heighten the contradictions for you. So that's how I think about it.
Yeah, I think there's a nuance whenever, again, like, and the reason why I was trying to bring up the know people, like, because sometimes, like, I think I say this a lot, but like it's really difficult to know people who like. So it was another post that okay, and I don't know if I want to play it now because we might play it on Sunday, or I don't know, but there's a clip of some dude who's a famous dude. I don't know his name. I don't even know the name. He's on Breakfast Club, and him and Charlamagne having a conversation, and Charlamagne was like, "Oh, here go my socialist friend," and and he was like, "Man, me and you already had this conversation. Well, if you socialist, then why you had to buy that shirt?" And he's like, "Well, you could be a socialist, but that don't mean I got to be naked." He said, "Well, you should be like," and I'm like, "This is the fucking conversation I had with this idiot dude." Like, and he ended up saying, "Oh, if you really about this shit, don't be critiquing me. Why don't you just go take the guns to the white people?" And I said, "So you just want me to go kill myself? Like, what the fuck are we talking about?" So like, so you know these people, and it's like just so happened like everybody know them, and it's gonna be on the timeline, and you're gonna see it, and it's gonna be hard for you not to respond to it or even check the nigga when you go home or talk like. But I'm curious, Lorik, if it's like you like we haven't built enough organization, but what if we built too many organizations and most of them shit just ain't doing shit? Or what if like the I was putting something earlier about the function of something versus the declared ideology. Like most of the many organizations, you know, they declare ideology, but you don't really know their function. You just be like, "Oh, I know there's this man, whatever," and that kind of leads to the point where sometimes you don't have shit to funnel niggas into. Sometimes you got to sit
Mhm.
down and be like, no, we're gonna start this shit ourselves. Like, bitch, you shouldn't do this. Let's do this. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes there's just not, or
Somebody in the chat has literally been saying that like there isn't an organization for them to funnel into, and that's why they like watching this. Mostly me, but yes.
yeah, they like watch you. But also back to the local shit. Sometimes you can funnel them into organizations, and because you only know people's stated ideologies and you don't know their functions in the hood that you don't go to, they already probably shit in that hood, and the celebrity probably know they shit. They're like, I ain't really fuck with yo because yo on some bullshit. I seen yo did some bullshit. So there is no, so you can't tell me this org got to state it they real when the celebrity even know they bullshit. You just don't know they bullshit because you don't know them niggas locally.
Exactly.
So it's like, so it's some, and so back to the FD joint, Jared didn't funnel FD into the organization. Jared kind of correct and push his line for his journalistic reach, right? And so you remember FD came on our show one day, me, Jared, and Diallo, and he said, like, I really want to be over here with y'all niggas on the left, but this shit feed my family. like he said this live. He's like, I gotta do it the way I do it because it's like I'm the breadwinner. I'm the one who make the, I don't got a regular job.
Wait, he got a wife and kids?
Yes, FD does have a wife and kids. One, I think you're already getting into, so Geechee, congrats on the return of EYL, which will be on Sundays at noon on African World Order. I agree. I think it's kind of self-explanatory that you actually have to have something to funnel them into. That's what I was saying. So if it is stated to do a thing and it doesn't actually do the thing, then yes, it's just going to cause harm, and then we'll end up in the exact same situation. I think, as you're already pointing out with Charlemagne, this is somebody, back to our earlier family and friends thing, that you've clearly known for a long time. And so this person has chosen to be on this side of the barricade. That's why when he says these things, it's just, CIA talking points. He's getting paid to say this, so he's going to keep saying it. And that's just something he's decided. That's something that, again, I think we just expose to people and be like, listen, this person is a paid agent. This is not somebody who cares about this at all. But to your point, yeah, you have to actually have something to funnel them into. I will move on from the
you don't have to. Yipper said Amber is like, I missed my chance. No, he missed his chance to join my harem. It's actually sucks for him.
Amber's harem is a
I ain't even catch that part.
The anime coming soon. Amber's harem. But yes, I agree. Obviously, and also my point is institutions, campaigns, organizations. There are several things. As I'm saying, the campaign to free Mumia is something that's been ongoing, that we know is legitimate, but that we know there are cracks in, that there's not enough infrastructure always supporting. That's how all these political prisoner campaigns go. And so there would be things that you can contribute. You have a skill, you have a platform, you have labor, as we talked about. And so even if you have not transformed to a revolutionary, even if you've not fully become a part of an organization, there are ways that organizations can push you, organizers can push you, principled revolutionaries can push you to do a thing. But you actually have to have something set up. You have to have something that exists. We have this platform, we have our comrades who do this work, and all of those things make it possible to have now a video with 100,000 views about Mumia, which I think the campaign to free Mumia appreciates. Now, I know, because they were the ones who also were behind the scenes helping that happen. So there's a lot of things that came into place to make that occur, is my point. But yes, until we have actual stronger organizations, that's cool. And my point is, these people, whether they knew or didn't know, right? Some of them are liberals and are happy with the system, and they've chosen that. So whether the org did or didn't have dirt, they would have been on some bullshit before they knew they were on the bullshit. And then they use finding out that an org isn't where, it claims to be, to justify the fact that they were going to stay on bullshit. So it just becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. I'm just more focused on our side of the equation. But that's how I see it.
No, I think that's fair. I'm gonna have to switch to audio only because I have to go to a press conference about our congressional district. But before I go, I will just say, for folks who don't know about the Supreme Court decision, after the Supreme Court decision for the Voting Rights Act and basically gutting Section 2, Marsha Blackburn, who's our U.S. Senator, has been pressuring our governor, and President Trump has been pressuring our governor to call a special session to remove our only Democratic congressional district, which is District 9, where I live. So I have to go speak at a press conference. So I'm gonna just switch to audio only. while I prep for that, because it's at 8:30, so it's like 15 minutes from me.
Okay. And
But I did want to explain why I had to dip out, and then
thank
I didn't really want to. I'm trying to be responsive to my community or whatever, because I said you niggas don't need me.
Oh, you got to keep relationships with people you don't agree with. Oh,
build
No, I
relationships.
agree with them. These my niggas. These my friends. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah. Organizing is about building relationships. Absolutely. Amber, thanks for going. We're going to keep you audio only, though. I'm glad you're not, you don't have to just disappear into the chat.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a little over top of the hour. So welcome Friday Remix, Laura, Geechee, Amber. We're going to get into some news while Amber gets ready to be an organizer in these streets.
And if part of the news is y'all wanted me to explain the Supreme Court decision, I can.
Okay, cool. That's on the docket, so let's get to it. All right. So, Amber, while you're transitioning, I wanted to pull up, of course, the story on the Supreme Court decision, which I know was covered by Jackie earlier in the week. So, always recommend y'all check out other hosts' programs on our platform. But a fight ahead. Black voters face fallout from U.S. Supreme Court decision. Advocates say that the decision could ramp up efforts to dismantle majority Black congressional districts, reshaping political power for years to come. In the hours after the U.S. Supreme Court eroded a key provision of the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965, the word Louisiana resident Martha Davis kept returning to was disappointed. Cleo Fields took office in January 2025, elected to represent Louisiana's brand new majority Black congressional district. Davis, who was a teacher for more than 40 years, had welcomed that change. For the first time in decades, she felt that someone in Washington would bring attention to the priorities of her North Baton Rouge community, including education, infrastructure, and healthcare. That enthusiasm evaporated Wednesday when the court issued a 6-3 decision that struck down the congressional map that made Fields' election possible. Writing for the majority, Justice Samuel Alito called the map unconstitutional. Davis said Wednesday that she sees a fight ahead, and according to the Washington Post, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry is already planning to suspend the May 16th primary to redraw lines. But the decision
He's already suspended it. So they've already called a state of emergency and suspended the election.
Okay, cool. Anything so far that you want to comment on? It's hard to read too. Let me zoom in.
Yeah, so they have suspended the U.S. House election, so the ballots will still, they've already been printed. People have already voted absentee. So people who are voting in Louisiana will still vote like normal, but they won't count the votes for the U.S. House race. I think one of the main questions that people have is like, how do you know for sure they won't not count other votes too? Like, how do you say we're just not going to count the votes on this ballot for this particular race? I think that's kind of iffy as well. And I do just want to say, like, just to explain it, it's going to be a lot of legal language, by the way, but the main thing being challenged here is the use of the 15th Amendment, stating that because you're challenging something based off of race that requires strict scrutiny, which means it requires a higher level of scrutiny. And so that you have to prove intentional discrimination because the 15th Amendment calls for intentional discrimination, not just discrimination in general. And you would have to prove that it's intentional discrimination to then be considered as part of the case. And because intentional discrimination is basically impossible to prove, that's why folks are saying that this is thrown out Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, because it is, I mean, I don't know any way to prove intentional discrimination unless you got straight audios of them saying, yo, we finna cut all the niggas out, finna kill all their seats. Like, unless they're saying that, it's very hard to prove.
Yeah, the legalese is always exhausting, strict scrutiny, and all these kinds of terms that basically exist to make it as hard as possible to get things done for our people. But the decision not only upends Black political representation in Louisiana, it also sends a signal to Republican lawmakers, especially those in the South, where most Black Americans reside, who are expected to redraw all the maps that rely on redistricting to elect representatives. Such a shift, advocates caution, could change the balance of power and the complexion of leadership in this country. Complexion alone, huh? Okay. The court has essentially put the death knell into our nation's most singularly important federal civil rights law, Kristen Clark, general counsel of the NAACP, told Capital B, adding that the decision will embolden lawmakers in former slave-holding states to dismantle majority Black districts. They will do so with the blessing of this court. In the statement, Field also made plain the sweeping ramifications of the decision, saying that the practical effect is that it will become far more difficult for Black voters to challenge racially discriminatory maps. That is important. This is especially troubling given the persistent reality that minority candidates are rarely, if ever, elected from districts where they are not the majority, underscoring why fair districting remains essential to ensuring equal representation. To learn more about what the justices said, what the court decision could mean for Black voting power, and what advocates are doing in light of the situation, read on. I think
it's interesting they say it
Mhm.
rarely because
Mhm.
all of California's congressional members that are Black represent non-Black districts. So
Interesting. You
that's
said
four Congress
California?
members right there. Yeah, all of California's Black Congress members represent areas that are not majority Black.
Thank you, Amber. We could point out those contradictions as well. I
So yeah,
actually,
it's a
yeah.
rarity, but I do think that it's interesting they say that because even if we're using the courts, if we're using the narrative from the court, right? Like they're assuming that there's no way someone Black could be representing either, which is not realistic because Black people can run everywhere. Like I think this idea that like the only way a Black person could win is if they're representing Black people is also racist.
Right. Well, Obama won, and he definitely wasn't representing Black people.
Right? Like nigga.
So yeah, it's more about. That's why I thought was interesting. This is Capital B News, y'all. By the way, for the source, and they said, complexion. That was the thing they were worried about. Like, oh, they were, now your complexion won't be there. We already talked about it. It's about the politics of it all. So, I mean, let's see how much this long article goes. A little longer. Maybe we'll get into this section and call it because I think we kind of have enough for discussion. Alito wrote that it was necessary to revisit Section 2, a provision created to combat racially discriminatory map drawing. He cited gains in ending racial discrimination, the ease with which plaintiffs can exploit Section 2 by addressing their political gerrymandering claims in racial garb, and the ability to use technology to draw lines that balance partisanship and race. Now, he wrote, plaintiffs must demonstrate using only current conditions that minority groups face intentional discrimination in the redistricting process. This is an old strategy. I'm going to talk about the law class I was in at the end of this. A section of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was designed to enforce the Constitution, not collide with it, Alito wrote. Unfortunately, lower courts have sometimes applied this court's Section 2 precedents in a way that forces states to engage in the very race-based discrimination that the Constitution forbids. It's reverse racism. Oh my God. This decision breaks with decades of precedent holding that Congress designed Section 2 to address not only intentional discrimination, but also maps that lead to discrimination, regardless of whether intent could be proved. Joining the majority opinion, which has significantly raised the bar for Voting Rights Act plaintiffs, were Alito's fellow conservative justice, including Chief Justice John Roberts. He wrote the majority opinion in the landmark 2013 Shelby County versus Holder decision, which gutted a separate Voting Rights Act provision and led to an increase in the racial turnout gap. According to an analysis by the Brennan Center for Justice, Roberts has been critical of the Voting Rights Act since he was a young attorney in the U.S. Department of Justice. Surprise, surprise. All right, I'm going to cut it there for some commentary. Amber, some thoughts? Some info we might need to know, and then Geechee. Amber might be in transit. Geechee, you have some thoughts on this discussion?
Yeah, so I think this kind of like goes back to our earlier conversation around the race neutrality. Like, how many of your family members be holding the line of race neutrality? You see a lot of these, and maybe it's content curators, but a lot of them saying, "Oh, I'm Trump and Trump doing this, and I'm red hat and MAGA." Like, and so as an organizer, as a person, like again, organizing in a space where you don't have an independent party that you rock with, that you run any candidates, that run any of your political line. You might have whatever. And you live in a country where majority people, when they hear the word constitutional, they equate that to right. So when somebody says unconstitutional, that's like as if it's a document that's just finite and doesn't change. Like, so yeah, I'm always curious about leading the conversations that we had at the beginning with these more political conversations, and then kind of reassessing, like, okay, so what is our objective? Like, are we not supposed to check uncle who's going to be a voter and all your whole family who's going to vote, and they're going to vote on the race neutral project, even though your politics is against race neutrality or whatever? Like, so by the time it gets to national news, it's not like the shit that's in national news, your family, you ain't dealing with the shit with your family or your cousins or next door neighbor, whatever. And most of the times, if you're not really building a relationship with them, you won't even know that they believe that, because they're not gonna say shit in front of you because they don't feel comfortable because of how you respond. So, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was tying in the last conversation with, like, the root of this, seemingly root of this national news now around race neutrality. And then also I was just trying to look up stuff about this dude Landry and where he come from, the district, and yeah, the type of shit he just been on, I guess.
Oh, Governor Landry in Louisiana.
Yeah, Jeff Landry or whatever the person. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that nigga ain't shit.
Yeah.
So I'm already seeing the black liberals do what they do, which is, this is why y'all should have voted for Kamala, yada, yada, yada. And I think what we on the left have to always point out is the deeper question. How did we get here? Why is this happening? What are the broader phenomena at play? This is not just a thing you just react to on the news, right? So one thing I want to recommend for folks is one of my favorite books on this subject, if not my favorite. There's The Black Voter in 1964. That's a documentary Afro-Marxist has that I think covers this, because this problem has existed literally since the Voting Rights Act was a thing. And how the Voting Rights Act comes about is important too. And I also recommend this book by Frederick Harris called The Price of the Ticket, Barack Obama and the Rise and Decline of Black Politics. And on it, as you can see, you have Malcolm X positioned against Barack Obama, right? So this to me is just, it's the ongoing discussion about what do we need? We need to escape the Democratic Party plantation, stuff that we talk about on this platform all the time. The Democrats are the reason why we're in this situation, because we're a captured electorate, because they refuse to put justices in power. And so I had a law class with somebody, my professor, famous legal scholar, getting all these resources to talk about civics and try and get education as a constitutional right. And he made us write a final paper about his case. It was called Cook v. Ramundo, if you're interested in looking it up. And we were all supposed to write 10 pages saying what we think the Supreme Court's going to do and why. And he, everyone was kissing his ass in the class and said that he's going to win 5-4 in favor of his case. And of course, he's a liberal, so he thought that was going to work. I did not have the energy or time to write 10 pages. I wrote 5. I got a B-, which is a grad school F, if you know. And it was because I said, bro, the Supreme Court's partisan. You got 5 conservatives, you lose. It's that simple. Everyone else likes to write this grand narrative of what the Supreme Court is. Black people know what that shit is. It is an instrument of power. And so if you get conservatives on there, they vote in favor of conservative policies. It's that simple. So now it's 6-3 because the liberals, the Democrats, did not put in any Supreme Court justices because they are fake opposition. So that's why I come back to all of this. You ignore what the Supreme Court is. It's a partisan instrument. It is going to do the bidding of conservatives now. And so here we are. The issue, as I think A-Rob, who is involved in politics electorally, is pointing out, because it's like, well, you're not in this and blah, 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 is that this might be used now to distract us, to bring us back toward electoral politics as a point of focus, right? So now everybody's going to be back to pouring all energy into elections and not to mutual aid and building revolutionary movement. Absolutely. I mean, this is going to be used as a Democrat rallying cry. I'm already seeing the billions they're going to rake in terms of donations, in terms of campaign dollars. We already have the No Kings kind of psyop going right now, right? So this just becomes an instrument for the Democratic Party to reassert hegemony within our communities. And that's my main concern. the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, Lyndon Johnson basically COINTELPROing Fannie Lou Hamer. That is how we got here in the first place. That is how Kwame Ture is radicalized, goes to Lowndes County, and helps form the campaign that becomes the inspiration for the Black Panther Party. So I just don't want us to get lost on our lineage of struggle and where we should be going from here. Building independent political
I
power,
agree.
what Malcolm is saying, and so all these things. Now, Amber already, and I'm going to let you jump in here, Amber, raised something that's important, which is that when you have organizations in some of these majority Black places and you have actually community institutions set up, then you can engage the electoral process for the needs of the people. And so in this way, it is a double-edged sword in that, yes, it's going to destroy, the districts, and the Democrats aren't going to be able to have the power they want anymore. Cool. But also in areas like where Amber is, where you have Black majorities and you have organizations and you're able to actually affect the politicians, it is an attack on those too. And so that is why I'm not just dismissing this as like, oh, whatever, it's just the Dems again, we're going to have to do what we have to do. No, it actually does make it harder for community autonomy, as limited as that was. So, Amber, I wanted to hear your thoughts about that.
So I think she might be paused again. So that cup.
I'm
Go
here.
ahead.
My
Go
bad.
ahead.
I couldn't figure out how to unmute that. Yeah, so I think that I can understand A-Rob's fears around that. I will say that I have not seen that or felt that personally from like our organizing and our community. Like, I think that what we're seeing is a little bit different than what's happening in Louisiana, right? Where they want to cancel this election because Memphis has been under attack since last year with the occupation that's happening here, with our school board being essentially taken over. There was a bill passed when the session closed last week that would allow for them to put an advisory board in place to take over our school board. Memphis has the largest school district in the state of Tennessee and the blackest school district. And so this is also will be another attempt in taking over our city by removing our congressional district, which I think is a little bit different from Louisiana because they don't have that like direct attack happening to one city in that multitude of ways. Like their criminal court clerk was just removed in New Orleans, but I still don't think it's the magnitude of what we're experiencing in Memphis. But we are still seeing like, people doing mutual aid work. People are still, pushing, a lot of the revolutionary beliefs that we have. But we are also trying to get people to turn out to the election because it does matter. Like there's a countywide election happening right now, and the person that's elected as county mayor will have a lot of influence. And so that does matter. So I don't agree that like it would dissuade people. And I'm not saying that's what A-Rob is saying. I don't think it would dissuade people completely and just pivot them all to electoral politics. But I also think that does depend on the organizing you're doing in your community, right? Like the organizing we're doing here is centered in the needs of our community. And so, yes, we're explaining to people how important it is to go vote, but we're also explaining like how this decision impacts them in the way that they can remove our congressional district, and the way they can remove our representation, and what that looks like on a federal level versus a local level, because locally we still have power. So even without that congressional district, we're still a Democratic district, regardless. Like we still have majority Black representation. We still have the most Black people in the state. Like that hasn't changed. And I think that that's also required, is that you are reminding people of their power, right? Like you have the power to do this thing. You are a Black majority city, and you just need to use that power.
So I always wonder if so I hear you talking about like the outside game y'all have in Memphis, and then the inside game. The outside game, mutual aid, orgs that's not connected to the duopoly. But then whenever you say the Black politicians that have seats, like are these people that share your politics and your org's politics, or are these people that you feel like your org can tactically use to help the material conditions of the people and to feed the outside work that y'all are doing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. There's only a few of them that share my politics, or like even the politics of like the more radical orgs in the city. Most of this is tactics, right? Like even when we consider like our current mayor, our city mayor, Paul Young. When I was president of our Young Dems chapter here, we chose to endorse him because realistically, it was between him and the sheriff that was letting people die in the jail every day. And so we chose a strategy of
well, we're gonna support him, but this is the playbook that we have and the needs that we have that needs to be met for our community. And he has done those. So that was a strategy. And we were meeting with him the day after he was inaugurated, immediately working on different policies, working on different things. And so sometimes it is just a strategy. Like I knew realistically he needed us to win. He needed younger voters. He only won by 8,000 votes. And the majority of those were from young people. So he needed us to win. And because of that, we've been able to get things that we need. Just same thing with city council members. There's a city council member, Jerry Green. She only won by 17 votes. We wrote 500 postcards for her. And she knows that she only won her race because we wrote those postcards and sent them out to young people. So it's stuff like that. It's like just a strategic move of sometimes you're not gonna find a radical person, right? Like we have a Tammy Sawyer who is like a super big community organizer, activist here. She's the criminal court clerk right now. I mean the court clerk for the general sessions. So like the regular like criminal shit, like if you go to like pre-trial and stuff like that. But that's the only radical person we have in elected office. So I mean, realistically, you have to work with what you got or pressure people to get what you want. And the radical people are not running for office. I'm not running for office. Other folks like we don't want to. And so that means we have to use strategy to get what we want, which I'm good at. I'm good at using strategy. So I would prefer doing that. And so far, we've been able to pressure them on different things. Jerry Green also was the person who proposed that bullshit ass blight plan that would have like allowed people to go in like someone's house, a city employee to go in someone's house and inspect it. And if they felt like your house was too dilapidated, they can order it to be demolished. We killed that shit. We was like, hey, no. And she ain't brought that ordinance back up because she knows we're not fucking playing. So sometimes, like, you know, it does help to have a strategy there where you can use your power when you need it. Because I would much rather have a few city council members right now. You need 7 votes to pass something. We got that 7 votes. I would much rather have the 7 votes we need to pass something than not have the votes we need to pass something, but have one radical member. Because that's what our state house looks like, right? Like we have Justin Pearson. That's great. We have Justin Jones. We need 50 plus votes to pass a bill.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help.
So Lord, I'm curious, especially to your point earlier. You said something about the bridge and the new stadiums. And I remember having an online conversation with one person I know really well, and I know they do work in their neighborhood, in their city, somewhat. They're trying to get into it, but they're really more online. And then there's an elder, Comrade Asantawa in Philly, and they came online and was
I
like,
know her.
Yeah, they came online and was like, "Yo, we about to be at this meeting because we trying to stop the building of the Philadelphia 76ers stadium in Chinatown." And like they do that in Chinatown, it's whatever. And Asantawa and them had to be in this press conference with Chinese people and advocating and siding with them. And the sister I know came on the screen, was like, and this is social media, them niggas, like they not African and African centered, and why are we even meeting with them? And that don't have nothing to do with us, and they don't support us, and they coming hard. And they're like, Asantawa, no, the reason why we have to push this thing is because not only would they change police relationships, and the most people who will be assaulted are Black people, but when they build that new stadium, they're gonna shut this highway down, and this highway is next to this Black neighborhood, and this Black neighborhood is not gonna be able to get to work on time because this highway shut down. And they so fucking locked in that you just race reactionary to a conversation that's way more political. So I'm curious how if you are in a space where y'all might be advocating for some shit where, you know, for instance, Andre Dickens is against the data center they trying to build here. He not against the data center because he against the data center because the data center is gonna fuck up the finished gentrification of the West End Mall. Like that's why he against it. But
oh wow.
But you can kind of like, well, we agree that we don't need the data center, but like Malcolm X said, like we could be against the same thing, but that don't mean we for the same thing. So yeah, I wonder if it's sometimes Black men bill can be looking like, oh, y'all here go these liberal ass voting niggas. You talking about to vote for something? Yeah, I know that's.
No, we got enough tendencies in our org. People split across different backgrounds. That I don't think that's the trend. What I will say is it's closer to Amber's approach. And I would add that when you see that book, I really, again, I'm going to recommend Price of the Ticket, Frederick Harris. It's what Malcolm was saying with people before him. He's not new to that strategy, which is that we have to be aware as a community of these things. So similar to Amber, I'm trying to be as plugged in as possible so I can do what you said. That takes power mapping, that takes knowing what's going on in your neighborhood, knowing what's actually occurring, and knowing the players on the board. So knowing that, as you're saying, Mayor Dickens is somebody who on this particular issue could maybe be moved this way, but then also knowing that he might flip, right? Because of that weak ass reasoning for being against something. So you have to just be, that's what power mapping is. I see that term thrown around a lot, but then it's clear when someone's actually doing it, like Amber, like the comrades you mentioned, and someone who's just saying the words, right? That being
That's
said,
also why I was an amazing organizer, by the way. I just want to say that.
sure.
And sometimes we do have to stand with people we don't fuck with. I don't fuck with a lot of these people. But if they agree on something that we don't want, then I'm gonna do what I need to do. And I mean, that's what all of this is. All of this is harm reduction in practice. And I know A-Rob said something in the chat that I partially agree with too. I think that you have to have a strategy that leans towards the system you want, like leans towards abolition. Like all the policies that we're pushing through our city government are towards abolition. But we
Right.
also have to get these people on board for different things too. So it's a mixture of both. Like you have to be able to balance getting them to pass these policies that are abolitionists. Like right now, I'm really excited about this tax thing that I'm working on. Where we would tax corporations who have 5 or more houses, because we have an Airbnb like type of environment here in Memphis where so many people are buying these houses and turning them into Airbnbs, or we have all these out of town investors who own all these houses. They don't have anybody living in them, and there's no money being made from them. They just buy up the properties because they're cheap. And so they will be taxed at a commercial rate versus a residential rate for owning 5 or more properties. And that's a tax that I'm like lobbying for right now. I wrote this legislation. I'm lobbying for this thing, right? But I have to talk to hella white people. I have to talk to all the city council members that are against Airbnbs, because there's one who's very against Airbnbs. I have to talk to him. I have to get him to lobby it heavily. Like there's so many folks I have to talk with that are very corporate, because they're the people who would support something like this, because they don't like Airbnbs because they own hotels.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
two of the city council members, their families own several hotel chains. And so they would support this kind of tax for that reason. But I gotta talk to all these people I don't fuck with to do it, right? Like that's what strategy calls on, right? And I also feel like um that's what like allegiance to and wanting to see better material conditions for your people also calls on. Because right now there's no tax increase included in this budget, when there actually really needs to be a tax increase. And because I love my people, I don't want them to have a tax increase, right? So that means we have to get a corporate tax. And I was looking for a way to have a PITA tear tax similar to what they have in New York, but it would have to be something more realistic because we don't have that many millionaires and billionaires here. And what's more realistic is charging people a commercial rate for owning so many properties, because
Mhm.
that is what happens here a lot. Like when I talked about like even buying a house was so hard because there really are no houses. Like I used to say that, but when I was looking for the houses, I was like, no, there really are none. Like
Mhm.
realistically, there's none for us to buy because they're all bought up by these investors who won't rent them, who either will rent them out or will just let them sit and be dilapidated.
So, agree with what Amber's saying. So that's the analysis that I essentially operate off of, and I think that's how any community organizer needs to move. I think where I would step in with political education is, so A-Rob raises this point: all mobilization gets funneled into electoral politics, and the poorest of the poor are not engaged in electoral politics, but they have caught on to what many of us haven't yet and have divested. So Amber is not confused or just about the nature of electoral politics, about the nature of the Democratic Party, but some of these people are. And so I do think if we're building power, we're going to have to get to a point where we do run candidates against these people, radical candidates who are not at the bare minimum bought into the two-party plantation. And so that is where we get back to building community power. But how do you do that? You have to get to the masses of our people and explain and build with their understanding to know what the community needs and to actually know how we need to move into the system. But if we're engaging these people, right, a lot of the politicians, as bless their hearts, are still not at the point of consciousness where they understand the Democratic Party is a dead end. And so that's not going to happen unless the community itself is at a level of consciousness where they can be like, wait, this is a dead end. And so we need somebody to actually heighten the contradictions and break this shit. So that is why I think political education is so important. That is why I've been recommending this book, but why I also would recommend we study the past, which is, you'll hear me say many times, the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. So briefly, if I can, there is this video that I've been using for political education, shout out Afro-Marxists, called The Negro Voter 1964. And so you're going to see a campaign interview from Fannie Lou Hamer, and just listen to how she talks about elections, right? It's very different than what you would even see from someone who might be a radical, quote unquote, Democrat, right? That's running right now. So this is a brief excerpt from that video I wanted to play real quick.
Negro political participation in Mississippi will come in some distant day. In the State House of Mississippi, 3 Negroes, candidates for congressional office, tread on marble and register their candidacies in offices which have been off limits to all but Negro janitors for close to a century.
It says that upon the hearing of a primary election contest or complaint, this deals with the other section that Brenda was mentioned, that if you feel that you have that there's been something has gone wrong
This is a political meeting in Mississippi. The candidates plan their campaign. The woman is Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer from the poverty-stricken Mississippi Delta. Does she think she has a chance to win?
No.
Why are you running?
Well, you see, all the people are not elected. You know, all the people was not. What I mean is, Whitten, the man that is congressman now, all the people didn't elect him because Negroes wasn't allowed to vote.
You anticipate much white opposition?
I do.
Do Negroes ever get intimidated or shot at because they run for public office?
They get shot at without being running for public office, so I don't think I have no other choice, because they shot into a house 16 times for me after I just tried to register the first time.
Do you think?
So obviously the conditions are not the same, right? But this is somebody who is heightening contradictions, moving around the most violent parts of our community. And the first thing, just ask any, go to that Butch Ware interview. Ask any current politician, do you think you're going to win? And listen if they say no. It just does not happen. They all think they're going to win. Jesse Jackson started sipping his own Kool-Aid and thinking he's going to win because they forget what they're there for. They're there to heighten the contradictions. They're there to actually represent their people's needs, and they know what their people actually need. And so that's where
you're being nice, bro.
I'm being nice. Oh, I didn't think. I thought I was calling it out.
No, bro. You say they forget.
Right.
Why they're there for. You really think some of these niggas
you're right.
there?
Thank you. Let me start from scratch. To the point of the price of the ticket, to the point of this document, they don't know. They aren't in touch with their communities. They don't actually have demands.
Okay, I gotta go, guys. Bye.
Out.
Sorry.
Peace, Amber. Go to work. Appreciate you. They don't actually know what their communities need. They don't have demands. And so what I always talk about the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, it was grassroots, extremely grassroots. They had a practice vote of like 80,000 people before they actually went and tried to challenge the Democrats at the National Convention. They went to their community. They said, they did freedom schools, massive popular education efforts. They said, what do you all want? Let's get all your demands together. What are your candidates? And then they voted among themselves before they even tried to engage the bourgeois electoral system. That level of consciousness and community organizing is the only way I would take electoral politics seriously. But as you said, people are not even aware of what their communities need. People are not even aware of this history of struggle, and so we end up running on the hamster wheel, going in circles. And so that's where I'm at with it. We need to actually understand that when we are at the level of not just trying to lean on or position like a Dickens and to get what we need done, but when we're actually running candidates, they need to have this consciousness. I'm not there to win. I'm there to get the shit done. I'm there to break this shit back so bad they can't put it back together again. So that's where I'm at with it, and that's how I look at this story.
So here's the thing. Another layer for me is, so Fannie Lou. So two things. When I heard the chickens, all I thought about was Like, so my granddaddy on my mama's side had pigs. He had a horse. And then my grandparents on my daddy's side, they had the chickens. So when I'm over my grandmama's house, like that's what wake us up. The chicken wake us up, and but I could never in a million years, we talk about this family thing. I can never in a million years see my grandmama being a Fannie Lou Hamer, like sitting down outside. Like it would have been amazing for me to be in the house and look out and see my grandmama with the Channel 5 or Channel 4 Mount Pleasant news station interviewing my grandmama because she about to run for local office and she popping her shit like that. That would have been like fire. I mean, but apart from that, that didn't happen. But when you say, do they know why they're there? Mm-hmm. Some probably want to win, and some are in line with the people. But even if they're not in line with the people, like the utility of that environment, electoral politics, Fannie Lou wouldn't tell you, right, that she's a Marxist, Leninist, or whatever, right? Fannie Lou will correct your fucking ass when you start saying she a communist or whatever. She might tighten your ass up. And so I don't know nothing about communism, but all I know is, this thing for the people need to be happening for the people. And Fannie Lou knows, just like Marx and Lenin knows, that no, nigga, you can't win no elections and no bourgeois democracy. But what you can do is get your ideas out there before the people and go represent and politicize the people. And then what you can do is say, okay, well, and this would Touré, who also studied Marx, will tell you, I studied this thing, and this is how I'm trying to engage with the world. If we run our candidates and say these politics, even if you lose, you'll know that we have this much of the city on our side that we can organize in between. So yes. Fannie Lou knows the thermometer effect of a fucking elections. The PE and the thermometer. So Fannie Lou know why she there. That's why she said, no, I don't think I win. Nigga, I ain't come there to win, but I know I come to. So I am suggesting the niggas who running don't even know that. They don't even know that the electoral politics is right. A thermometer and a way, like they're there for. They don't see Trump got some fucking record deals and big deals and whatever, and they're like, well, if I can run, I can get my because so.
No, that's where we're at. And so this is where I come to political education, because Fannie Lou Hamer, listen, this is the biggest insult to our people in struggle is when we don't study and critique and learn from their mistakes. Fannie Lou Hamer existed in her time period. If there were Fannie Lou Hamer around today, she could literally read where they talk about what happened in the aftermath of the MFDP, and she wouldn't make the same damn mistake. And so that's why when you're like, yes, she would know. Yes, maybe there was Red Scare that had already wiped out a generation of communists before her, right, in the South. So that's why Fannie Lou Hamer might not admit that she's a communist, because there's that direct repression, lynchings, murders, disappearances that happen with communists. So that's part of it, is that we're in a war that is always trying to erase our footprints and hide what actually worked in the past, so that we start from scratch and feel like we're rediscovering stuff. But then, as I said, my uncle and me reemerging, and then someone will reemerge after me until we're free, right? It happens in all the struggles, in the Palestinian struggle, the Haitian struggle, Puerto Rican struggle, wherever you want to call it. This is also a part of my PE that Fannie Lou Hamer did not have. This is called the MFDP Challenge to the Democratic Convention. It is available on the Civil Rights Archives page, crmvet.com. And so I wanted to go exactly to this piece where they talk about it. And Kwame Ture says, after the fact, this quote, amazing quote: "If we had gone into the convention as the little pets, the clients of the liberals, we came out as outcasts, show enough political pariahs. Someone, I think Ivanhoe Donaldson, said, we're the new communists. You know how whenever black folks got fed up and took to the street, you always heard talk about communist agitation, as though those black people lack sense enough to know that they're oppressed until some communist runs up to tell them? That, according to the totalitarian liberal opinion, was our role with the Freedom Democrats at the convention." And so Kwame Ture, who is might not explicitly say he's a Pan-Africanist, which means communism is a part of it, he has no problem with Marxist analysis because he's a dialectical materialist, is pointing it out right here. Yeah. So that is what we have to build off of, and that is what was built off of, because again, the Panthers come from this. Kwame Ture sees this shit, breaks from a liberal like John Lewis, who we're dealing with his aftermath, and then his legacy goes on and gets spread in children's books and all those things. And Kwame Ture joins Lowndes County, Black Panther Party comes from there. All of these things. So the COINTELPRO war that began with Fannie Lou, continued to the Black Panthers, continues to this day, and increasingly deranged in complex ways, as we're seeing. If you check out Barrett Brown's interview yesterday with Jared, we're seeing all those things. That is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with counterintelligence. So we have to remember where we came from, and we have to, in our communities, raise this up. So it's not Josh's analysis, it's not Geechee's analysis, it's not just Amber's analysis, even if we are correct. It is that this has been tested in practice, and we're showing you that this answer isn't going to work. So that's where I'm with you. But again, if these people, there's institutions being built, there's legacies, right? If these people are saying they're coming from the John Lewis School, my mom used to tell me I went to the Kingian Institute for Nonviolence or some shit. She used to tell me that all the time, and I read their curriculum the other day, and it was liberal nonsense, right? So this is the war we're dealing with. So that's, I'm gonna land a plane there. But
well, you brought it up, so I had to remind myself and you how disgusted I was with Clinton. This white boy had the caucasity to sit at a black man's funeral, and I don't care how liberal John Lewis is, and talk about 2 dead black people and try to convince you that he's an expert. Why the fuck is he even at that funeral? And why at what anyway? So anytime.
Oh no, yeah. Clip. I have this clip. I keep this clip on me because it's disgusting shit. Absolutely. But then there's a clip of Kwame Ture actually talking about Clinton overlaid over it, which I love because he immediately claps back at Clinton, even though this was.
But he was already dead at the time, though. So.
Yes, which is why you're actually going back to Kwame Ture's interview on Bill Clinton before he passed away. But let me see if I can at least the clip of Clinton. I'll find the Kwame Ture one. We can revisit that one definitely.
Oh, I thought it was edited together already.
There's one. I gotta find it. I gotta find another time. But I always keep the clip on me at the funeral of this disgusting Epstein file man talking about our elders. And this is the problem with liberals, by the way, right? Because John Lewis wouldn't have necessarily, he's got that good old civil rights respect and love and blah, 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 even though I don't think it's enough. So he wouldn't have approved of this. But you picked the wrong side of the barricade. This is how your legacy is going to be used, right? So this was Clinton speaking at John Lewis's funeral.
Just 3 years later, he lost the leadership of SNCC to Stokely Carmichael.
We lost, bitch.
I mean, it was a pretty good job for a guy that young and come from Troy, Alabama. It must have been painful to lose, but he showed as a young man, there's some things that you cannot do to hang on to a position, because if you do them, you won't be who you are anymore. And I say there were 2 or 3 years there where the movement went a little bit too far towards Stokely, but in the end, John Lewis prevailed.
I hate that nigga, bro. I hate that.
Oh, it's disgusting. But that's what that's what I show our kids, again, the youth, PBS. So they know what we already did. Yeah, exactly. It's Epstein Island, pedophile, loser, right? But this is important, right? Because he's telling you what side. This is why when we talk about the things, we talk about the ideologies that are going to lead us to a dead end. The feds always love them. The feds are openly supporting these things. The feds love cultural nationalism over revolutionary nationalism. They love it. That's why Tucker Carlson said, "Oh, I love them FBA folks. I love them ADOS folks," because they're telling you what side they're on. He's telling you, "I love John Lewis," because that's a strategy we can use. Whereas the FBI literally says, if Dr. King abandons white liberal nonviolent doctrine and embraces black nationalism, he's a threat. So this is where it is. And all the disrespect, right? The same way people would call Muhammad Ali Cassius. The fact that I always, even with some of our elders who are still around, who are veterans of that movement, it's always a dog whistle for me when they say Stokely and not Kwame Ture. So just peep that Bill Clinton continues to say Stokely. And whenever you hear somebody who says Stokely instead of Kwame Ture, you should already kind of know what side they're on. So
what if he said, and I tell you, you good blacks need to stay away from gangster rap and H rap. What if he would have said that?
Something like that. I mean, that's what a Sticky Joe creepy Uncle Joe Biden was saying, or you ain't blackjack or all that kind of shit. But yeah, I just like when they make.
Said that shit to Nard.
Oh yeah. I always
On
forget.
the show with Nard when he said this shit.
Yeah. So then again, when you can see this, and then you can talk about Nard, and that's where I'm at. Like you said earlier, this person's controlled opposition. Nard's going to say the talking point that he's been argued down on, that people have explained to him a million times, because that is a op. That is somebody who does not care about the truth. They're not actually listening to you. They are getting paid to say the opposite. I wanted to say, okay, so for me, I'm a big proponent of not writing some shit that's already been written. Big proponent of that. I think, again, to this point of going back and getting it, Sankofa stuff is already out there. So I see this comment, we need a Myth of Black Electoralism book.
Like Jared would say, you write it in. Instead of tell Jared, you write it.
And instead of that, what I'm going to tell you is what I've been recommending the entire time. I'm going to drop it in the chat. Frederick Harris, The Price of the Ticket. It is that book. Please read that damn book. It already exists. It comes from him, which is interesting. He's like a Columbia professor, which I would normally tell you run away from. And he's a political scientist. But that book is amazing. It's already there. So read The Price of the Ticket. Watch The Negro Voter 1964. And I promise you already have the myth of Black electoralism. The myth of Black buying power was new as a contribution. We're coming to time, but I see some super chats. You want to get into those?
Why are you getting the super chats? Another thing that I did staying up too late and why I ain't getting less sleep. So last night when I was watching I Am Not Your Negro Again, and it made me have a conversation around what you mentioned, James Baldwin and Nikki Giovanni's historical conversation. And I wanted to know this backdrop. Like, he was like, she was like 20, her late 20s. She was like 28. He was like 40 something. So he was older. He already had been like world renowned. And she was like coming up, and they were like, and I don't know how people are seeing it, but they were equals. They were equals at that conversation, and he was still trying to, like, a little girl, daughter, son her type shit, and she was fucking him up, like, what I mean? And so, and then on that documentary, he tells a time about when he was speaking in New York, and then he said Malcolm walked in that motherfucker, and like Malcolm was sitting down, he was all nervous because like he talking and Malcolm is there, and a lot of times James Baldwin started to communicate. He knew his limitations, even though he's older than Malcolm and Martin. But so that just made me think about, like, again, if we are telling the stories, or we like, what would you have want James Baldwin to do off that stage? You want him to get off, once he get off the stage, go and talk to Malcolm. Say, you know what, Malcolm, there's a lot of shit I'm wrong about. Like, can I join your organization, or could you teach? Like, I don't know how, I know they have
listen, man.
The Miami movie.
You think James? Well, yeah, that horrible movie. You think James Baldwin would have joined the OAU? You got your damn mind. That's why they killed Malcolm. They got him up out of here. Because 100% James Baldwin would have been in the OAU. No question to me. That's why I'm at. Like, this is how it's a war. They get rid of your best strategies so that you can't. So you're stuck in this shit. So I see some of these. Oh, I wanted to point out a great combo. And this is how I feel about this topic as well. Our struggles are all linked. When you see somebody who is homophobic, they tend to be sexist, they tend to have racism, they tend to be ableist, right? So I point this out: when you dead name people, like calling Muhammad Ali Cassius or calling Asada Joanne, right? That is disrespectful. And it's not a direct comparison, but it also goes to these same people with dead name trans people.
Or just wrapping them up to calling them niggas on Comedy Central, like Nard did.
Yep, or whatever Dave Chappelle does. And it's funny, but I can't believe the right's using my trans jokes. So yes, absolutely. Dead naming people, whether it be trans people, whether it be our revolutionaries, is a counter-revolutionary, conservative, reactionary practice. Wanted to get into the super chats. Compromise, who does it benefit Democrats share in the loot sometimes? Absolutely. We didn't get to the story, but the Senate had to ban trading on predictive markets, right? When Amber talked about body cams for that brother, I was like, put a body cam on Nancy Pelosi so we can see her insider trading on all these stocks. So definitely the Democrats are in on it. So thank you for your $5 donation, ZZ. Oh, ZZ's been laying it up for us. ZZ also says, and a man who gives his money and firearms to bandits so as to share in the loot. VI Lenin. Yes. And then finally, ZZ $10. One must learn to distinguish between a man who has given up his money and firearms to bandits so as to lessen the evil they can do and facilitate their capture and execution. Okay, got you. The same Lenin quote. Appreciate that. All right, we can start wrapping it up, moving into a close. I wanted to highlight what Black Men Build is a part of for our May Day, specifically our Miami chapter, though there's a lot going on elsewhere. It'll be a brief story. This is a Len brother who does some work down here. His journalism is very useful. I do think I have some issues with it at times, but this is very, very good base kind of explanation of what we got going on. So
here in Miami-Dade County, there are so many plant nursery workers in places like Homestead that grow the plants that you purchase in stores across the entire United States. And they are laboring under extreme heat, under very dangerous conditions, for poverty wages, while the industry that they sustain brings in billions of dollars. You see, South Florida doesn't just participate in the houseplant industry. No, it powers it. This is a $50 billion industry, and about 80% of all indoor plants sold across the United States are grown here in Florida, meaning that most of the plants that you see in places like Target, Home Depot, Aldi's, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, etc., only exist because of the very essential workers in our community. And yet for so long, so many of these workers have been treated as if they don't matter. Their average pay is $12.57 an hour, way below a livable wage in Florida. 80% of these workers never receive any overtime pay for their work. 60% of these workers have reported that they have no access to paid sick days or vacation time. 1 in 3 workers don't even have access to water at work under the blistering Florida sun. And 50% of female workers report some sort of sexual harassment or discrimination in the workplace. So behind the beauty of the plants that we bring into our homes is a workforce made up largely of immigrant labor, many of them women, who are facing very dangerous conditions on the job. And like all workers, they deserve fair wages, safe working conditions, and just dignity. That is why I am honored to partner with We Count this May Day. I'll be moderating a panel connected to the documentary Without Shade, Without Rest, a film that highlights the reality of what outdoor workers in Florida are facing and the organizing efforts to change those conditions. We Count's Planting Justice campaign is calling on major retailers to join a worker-driven program. This program would guarantee fair wages, safe working conditions, protections from extreme heat and pesticides, as well as the right for workers to speak their minds without fear of retaliation. Because if corporations benefit from their labor, they need to be a part of the solution as well. So this May 1st, join We Count for the March for Planting Justice in Coral Gables. Workers, unions, community members, all standing in solidarity, demanding real change, respect, and dignity for these laborers. So show up, stand with them, be a part of this amazing initiative. I will be there, and I hope to see you there as well. Right?
So that's the coalition we're a part of in Black Men Build Miami, obviously, in honor of the communists who struggled and put us to this point. We definitely need to move those demands to the left. But I appreciate the work. I appreciate the workers themselves telling their story. And so May Day, Friday, May 1st, 1:30 p.m., this is going on the March for Planting Justice. So that's what I got going on this weekend. Geechee, what you got for the people?
Yeah. Shout out to that good work down there and all those labor unions. We have our neighborhood. The community that I'm on the board for. We have our monthly meeting coming up tomorrow. 2 things. Skip is in town, so I'm gonna go hang out with Skip a little bit. But we have that meeting tomorrow. Still struggling with the data center folks. The World Cup obviously coming. There's some conflict between the city programs like PAD and the fire department and all the other people. They're arguing that we're not World Cup prepared and the firemen don't have a new contract and so they want to be World Cup prepared. So it's like, and there's still people saying like we're against the World Cup, and it's almost like it's too late now. This coming, and in so much that the World Cup is, the city is offering people $4,000 and a TV and a big screen and all type of shit so that they can do screening parties in the city. And so one of my homeboys up here who got a studio, he's like, yo, man, could you get me, and so it's like, we about to have a conversation around that, and that's going to be interesting. I do have a scenario that happened yesterday. I'm curious of a response for you. So normally we got a one-way street right here. And anytime I see blue lights, I'm like, I need to go out and make sure somebody, whatever. One night I go out and it's late, and there's a house insecure person, and you could tell like the cops kind of follow him. I'm like, I'm checking to see what's going on with him, and I told him to come here. He came to my house. We start talking. He's like, yo, man, I just need food or whatever. I give him the little money I had and some food, and I told the cop like, yo, he good. Let him just let him do what he do. And the cop just, didn't mess with him, and he let him go. The next day I see him, and he asked me again. I was like, yeah, man, remember I gave you what? He's, oh, yeah, I remember you. But later on that day, I hear something banging on my porch or whatever, and I walk out, and the same dude is out there. He got this big ass box in his hand that he just got from my neighbor's porch. And I'm like, put the box back. He like, what do you mean? I said, bro, put that box back. Like, what? I was like, bro. And I'm like on my porch, and I ain't got no shoes on. You can run over there and tell him like not to do it. I said, yo, put the box back, bro, because I don't know what the box is or whatever. Come to find out, the box was really, really expensive dog food because my neighbor's dog is really sick and they got to get special type food and whatever. But anyway, I'm like, yo, put the box back. And while I'm yelling at this nigga to put the box back, the police comes in their car. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, bro, put the box back and run. Like, there's a little thing right here. You can run through the dock. You good. Put the box back and run. This nigga like, no, well, I don't. And then the police come, 2 black cops, and they like, make him put the box down. And then he try to run. And I'm like, oh shit, bro. I don't need this. And I'm like telling him, like, yo, calm the fuck down. Like, calm down, bro. They like trying to fight him. And I don't know if he's like just really strong or he on something that make him really strong, but they can't hold this nigga down. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is about to turn into, and I'm like, yo, relax. He's like, why? What'd I do? I said, bro, like, just relax, bro.
You know what you did.
Like, and it's too late now. I told you to run. And so anyway, like they put him in the joint, and then I picked the box up and put the box back on the porch. And they was like, why would you touch the box? I like, bro, I don't know what the fuck y'all.
You mess with a crime scene. Oh my God.
I'm done here. I'm going in my house. I don't want to deal with y'all niggas. And I really like, but anyway, I wonder, I'm thinking about it like, damn, bro. Like, I mean, I kind of had to engage with them. But the reality is the chances are the dude going to be, I mean, I know they kind of pushed him in the car. The dude is houseless. He gonna have a place to sleep. He gonna probably get some food, right? And I'm like, yeah, I knew. Yeah. I was having a moment, and I was like, it was
man. But we deal with that shit all the time. That's the day-to-day just struggle of living in this horrible society. You think you did what you could. I don't see myself doing much different in that scenario. You tried to tell the brother to leave. You tried to tell him how to get out of the situation, and you were helping your neighbors. I think that's all we could really ask for. But it is a fucked up situation. And then the sad part is, yeah, my brain goes the same way as yours. Like, maybe he'll get some food, but still not ideal. Obviously, it's just sad. It's sad that frustrating to deal with unhoused people in our community, and it's just, yep, that's why we do what we do. That's the work we deal with. But I'm glad you handled it the way you could.
Even like the skit thing is kind of like, I think
it could be a Key and Peele skit.
Yeah, but I'm like, that shit could have been easily where I can, like, it took nothing for bah, 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 bah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's two young cops who they like machizo, and they don't give a fuck, and they really can't hold the dude. They trying to hold him down, put a knee down. He pushing both of them up. I was like, gosh, bro, this shit is not going. And what the fuck I can do intervene and get shot too. Like I'm like this. Shit
No, I know the comedy is how we cope. So like I yes, it could be for, but yes, that's immediately yes, man. I'm super worried about that. And then it's the whole complex about what we said. If you were watching George Floyd, would you have interacted? What would you have done? You should have done something. And so
Right.
we
Yeah.
get stuck in those kinds of things all the time. Maybe you should have thrown a rock. Well, then they come in, tase and kill your ass too. So there's just no easy answers there unless we're prepared, unless the community itself is organized. And I think to some degree you are one of those people on the block who's trying to help, but it takes a village. It just can't be individual. But yeah, all those things flash through my mind too. One more super cat. Thank you, Zen Z, for Lorix Router Fund. Unfortunately, it's a little more complex than that, so I can show y'all. But I was doing some tests. I'm actually in the same room as the router today, and y'all, I got very high speed internet, like higher than I have at my own crib. So it's not a speed problem. I have some theories. I think it might have to do with the clouds floating in the background. I think that maybe might cause some lag for me. I didn't see lag yesterday on Dr. Sundiata's. He's got a flat black background. So gonna have to run some tests, but it's not my internet. At least that's been solved. Anyway, appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the super chats. Thank y'all for the conversation. Geechee Lorick. As Fred Hampton used to say, as Jared says, and as we say, peace, only if you're willing to fight for it, and we'll catch you next time.
Black Liberation Media is a collective of Black and African organizers, journalists, academics, and media personalities serving Black and African masses seeking to further grow in their understanding of themselves, their histories, and the African world through entertainment and news. Please continue to like, subscribe, and donate to the channel so we can further serve you and liberate our people. You can also go to blkliberationmedia.org, get some merchandise, and also become a Patreon member and a member from the YouTube. Please do what you can, share, and show your love as we will show ours for you. Black Liberation Media.